Not far from the sleepy Malaysian town of Ipoh, nestled within vast palm oil and rubber estates that dominate the area, and bounded by magnificent limestone pinnacles, lies the restored remains of a most unusual dwelling. For almost a century, this structure has been consumed by the jungle. A frozen picture of colonisation, an abandoned monument to the British Empire, and some say a symbol of undying love. Locked within its arches and columns, its bricks and mortar, lies the tale of one man's dreams, his aspirations, frustrations, and untimely death. A Malaysian enigma suspended in time and space. A building conceived, but stillborn, from a man who haunts the imagination, and it is believed, the corridors of the castle itself. Kellies castle is as misunderstood as it is enigmatic. Its history is distorted by rumour, speculation and folklore, causing its walls and corridors to be shrouded in mystery. Its passageways are believed by many to be haunted by the man who built it, and others who lived there. The spirit of the owner, they say, remains and dwells within the castle walls. The ghost of the colonial planter has been witnessed often wandering the corridors and bedrooms, displaying all the features of a master surveying his estate.
People avoid coming to this castle after dark because it's believed that this castle is haunted. There have been a lot of ghostly images being seen in various parts of this castle over the years.
Kellies Castle is not a place for the faint-hearted on a moonless night after midnight.
A case in point is this part of the castle. Many visitors have mentioned about hearing voices in this part of the room. When they enter this room, the voices have moved to the next room. And when they enter that room, the voices have moved to another room. And when they enter that room, the voices have disappeared at the end of the building, down the spiral staircase. I cannot explain that. The most recent case was this European couple, a team of scientific naturalists from Canada. They came to Kellies Castle to shoot nocturnal creatures, especially bats. After their shoot in the middle of the night, the European lady saw a ghostly image of a man standing looking outside the window. Was it William Kelly Smith himself? She doesn't believe in these ghostly stories, but that's what she saw.
Kellies Castle has suffered much from the exposure to tropical elements over the years. Most of the original building is in ruins, and structural damage has had to be reinforced to stop the edifice from collapsing. Now, with the insights and postulations of our team of experts, Kellies Castle can now be reconstructed and revealed in all its glory, and William Kelly Smith's dream can finally be realised. Chen Vun Phi is an architect who also writes books about Malaysian architectural heritage. He has a great passion for historical buildings and is active in the Malaysian Heritage Society. Dr. Ho is a medical practitioner with a special interest in the history of the Kinta Valley. He's written books on the subject and has lived in the area all his life.
Hello, Mr. Chen. Oh, we finally meet.
Oh, Dr. Ho.
Chen Vun Phi and Dr. Ho will lead a team to reconstruct the castle in 3D, and using their expertise and experience, they'll speculate on how the castle might have looked had it ever been finished.
Yeah, you were saying one time you had played here as a boy.
Oh yes,
So
I used to come as
I want
a boy.
to ask you about your childhood memories,
Oh yes, yes.
because there was something that we were not very certain about.
Okay.
Did he intend to go up another floor?
I don't think
or the main
so.
house?
I don't think so.
Because I thought when you played here as a boy, that flat roof was already built.
Yes, it was
Wasn't
already
it?
there. It
Yeah.
was already there.
I think somewhere in the literature,
Yeah.
it was said that he was going to hold parties there. That's possible.
It would have been a very good place to hold rooftop parties.
Yeah.
You know?
Of course, it would be a very pleasant place because you could see the landscape around
That's right.
at the
That's
top.
right.
Then, of course, they would finish with a kind of balustrade, along the roof line.
That's right.
Definitely, the brickwork would not have been left unplastered.
Yeah, it should be plastered.
Yeah,
It should
so they would have
plastered.
been more. It would have been unified with the glass house.
That's right.
Yeah. Because as it looks now, it's a very rough kind of brickwork.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
And also the other thing that most people don't realize, what we see today
Yes.
on the main road, on the
Right.
out the other side of the river, is not actually the front.
It's the back.
It's actually the back.
Back, yes.
So
That's the front is
that's the front.
Yes.
And this will still be used as the front
Yes.
to the whole complex.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then the other thing that it has never been quite established is where was the main entrance? Because there is no sign of a covered porch, like a porte cochere,
Yes.
which is almost an indispensable part of those old colonial houses. Where if you had seen it in your boyhood, would it have been on that side of the house?
It would probably be in front of the house.
But there was none when you came to play.
That was after the war. I think it could have been destroyed during the war.
How was it destroyed? Was it by bombing?
It's very likely by bombing. When the Japanese first came over, they were looking for important targets. And this looked very important. Somebody important.
It
to
was
be
the
living here.
Japanese who bombed it,
bombed
not
it,
the
but-
counter-attack when British.
Not really likely. The Japanese. They targeted a lot of important places.
Just randomly.
Randomly. Places that look important. And Kellies House was probably big enough for very important.
Big
person.
enough target.
Big enough target.
Which looked
yes.
important.
Yes, that's right.
I see. This is the whole thing. There's a lot of guesswork.
Oh yeah.
When people come here,
That's
because there are no plans,
no plans, right?
not enough pictures or photographs.
That's right.
So unless there is extensive digging
Right. That's
to
right.
look for the disappeared parts,
That's right. It's actually a place of mystery. Actually, all along.
It adds to the mystery. Yes.
Today, Kellies Castle is a restored and maintained tourist attraction, 1.5 hours north of Malaysia's capital, Kuala Lumpur, and serves as a monumental reminder not only of the nation's British colonial past, but of the exceptional and perhaps eccentric behaviour of its founder, William Kelly Smith. Popular legend has it that William Kelly Smith built the castle out of a love for his wife Agnes. In the same way the Taj Mahal was built by the Mughal King Shah Jahan for his wife Mumtaz Mahal. He was born the third son of a poor Highland farmer in Dallas, Scotland on the 1st of March 1870. Life was tough for him and his 5 siblings, and their impoverishment was to sow the seeds of William's ambition to climb out of his peasant class origins. It was a time when the burgeoning British Empire was seeking able-bodied men to grasp the opportunities that were being made available in the colonies.
In the late 19th century, Britain was vibrant economically. But at home, the opportunities available to the younger people were limited. And the young men in particular in Britain had to look for opportunities elsewhere. And since the British Empire had also expanded, so there were ample opportunities for them. So they went out to India, to Burma, to Sri Lanka, and of course to the Malay Peninsula.
Lured by tales of great fortunes, William secured passage to Malaya at the age of 20 in 1890, aboard a ship that would take him there via the Middle East and India.
The ship would have crossed the Suez Canal and stopped maybe at Port Said and Yemen. He would have seen buildings in the Middle East, then coming round to the Arabian Sea, down to the Indian Ocean, arriving in Bombay. It would have taken weeks instead of hours in those days. So he would have time to look at some of these buildings en route. From there, he would have rounded Ceylon up to Madras before crossing the Bay of Bengal to Penang.
After a month at sea, William eventually disembarked at the port of Penang, ready to stake his claim on the undeveloped shores of Malaya.
Oh, there were plenty of opportunities, especially for somebody from the British Empire, from the British Isles, coming to a colony. There are plenty of opportunities for them.
William worked as a civil engineer in his early years in the Kinta Valley, making contacts with local colonial businessmen and government officials. At first, he ventured out on his own, but didn't have a lot of luck. Establishing William Smith Civil Engineers, Architects and Contractors, he secured a 2-year government contract to supply railway ballast for the fledgling railway system and opened up a rock quarry. But he ran into problems with the legitimacy of the lease on the quarry land and had to abandon it without government compensation. The collector of land revenue wrote to him in a very pointed manner.
I cannot see that the government is in any way responsible for the losses you may incur by you making an agreement with a man to break metal on certain land for which there is no title.
William scraped along doing engineering work for railways and roads while he looked for his next opportunity.
He finally linked up with another colonial, Charles Elmer Baker, who had concessions to build roads in South Perak.
Perak became very important to the British business community as well as the Chinese business community in the Strait settlements because they had invested heavily in the mining of tin.
William struck up a business arrangement with Alma Baker, subcontracting the building of roads between the tin mines and newly erected townships and ports.
Charles, I can't thank you enough for the opportunity of being your joint venture partner. I'm very thankful. So, where do I sign?
Just sign at the bottom there, William.
Here we are. I hope it's the start of a long and lasting relationship, Charles.
So it is time for a couple of drinks, I think.
Yes.
With the profits from his contract with Alma Baker, William secured 200 acres of land at Batu Gajah.
Like most planters, he went
for estates that dominate the area and bounded by magnificent limestone pinnacles lies the restored remains of a most unusual dwelling. For almost a century, this structure has been consumed by the jungle. A frozen picture of colonisation, an abandoned monument to the British Empire, and some say a symbol of undying love. Locked within its arches and columns, its bricks and mortar, lies the tale of one man's dreams, his aspirations, frustrations, and untimely death. A Malaysian enigma suspended in time and space. A building conceived, but stillborn, from a man who haunts Kellies castle is as misunderstood as it is enigmatic. Its history is distorted by rumour, speculation and folklore, causing its walls and corridors to be the imagination, and it is believed, the corridors of the castle itself. Not far from the sleepy Malaysian town of Ipoh, nestled within vast palm oil and rubber